Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for grade 8 math. So we're going to start with the chapter linear. We're working on the book Math grade 8 Math Makes Sense grade 8. So we're working on the chapter linear equations and graphing, and that is chapter number 6 on the book. The lesson we're going to cover from the chapter is graphing linear relations. Then we'll start the new chapter, chapter 7, that is data analysis and probability. And the lesson we're going to cover from the chapter is choosing an appropriate graph. So let's just start with the first lesson. Let me just go to chapter 6. 6.1. 6.7, I think it is. Creating a table of values. We did this in last session. Now we're going to start with 6.7, graphing linear relations, right? So let's just start with the lesson graphing linear relations. Okay. So we are already learned with how do we make table of values and everything about the linear relations. Now we're just going to learn how do we make graph of the linear relations, right? Let's just start with question number 4. Each graph below is a graph of linear relation. Describe the relationship between the variables in each graph. Y equals 4x minus 1. So you are given the graph of both the relations. You just have to explain. Okay, the A is y equals 4x minus 1, right? The relationship between x and y values are y equals 4x minus 1, right? That means if x increased by 1, y increased by 4. You can see here when x is 1, y is 3, right? When x is 2, it goes to 7. So when x is 1, x increases by 1, y increases by 4, right? Okay, so the second one is y equals minus 3x plus 9. That means when x increase by 1, y decrease by 3 because that is negative 3, right? So when x decrease by 1, y decreases by 3, right? You just have to explain the relationship between them, okay? The next one is graph each relation for integer values of x from 0 to 5. Okay, you have to make graph for y equals to x. You have to find the values for x from 0 to 5, right? Okay, y equals to x. Let's just start with question number 5. Y equals to x. Just look, values of x are between 0 and 5. So when x equals 0, I'm going to make table on this side. When x equals 0, right? Just replace the x with 0. Y equals 2 times 0 and 2 times 0 makes 0. That means when x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, right? It would be y equals 2 times 1 and 2 times 1 is 2. So when x is 1, y is 2. When x is 2, y equals 2 times 2, that means 4. When x is 2, y is 4, right? When x is 3, y equals 2 times 3, that makes 6. When x is 4, y equals 2 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8, so it would be 4 and 8. When x is 5, y equals 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so here you have 5 and 10. So basically here is the table of values for the relationship y equals to x. Now you have to make a graph, right? X is 0, y is 0. X is 1, y is 2. X is 2, y is 4. X is 3, y is 6. X is 4, y is 8. X is 5, y is 10. You can see that is a straight line, right? Because I'm just plotting the points on the whiteboard. You can use any online graphing tool and you can plot the points. You can see the line, or you can see the graph y equals to x. Let me just, you can see this is the table of values, right? When x is 1, y is 2, right? When x is 2, y is 4. These are the table of values, right? So you have to do the same thing for all the parts from a till h, right? Let's just do h. Y equals negative 5x. Okay, so when x equals 0, y equals negative 5 times 0, that is 0. When x is 1, negative 5 times 1, negative 5, right? When x is 2, y is negative 5 times 2, that is negative 10. When x is 3, negative 5 times 3, that would be negative 15. When x is 4, negative 5 times 4, that is negative 20. When x is 5, 5 times negative 5 is negative 25, right? So here's the table of values. Let's just plot the graph. That would be y equals negative 5x. Okay, here is the graph for y equals negative 5x. 0, 0, right? When x is 1, y is negative 5, right? You can see here 1 and negative 5, right? So when you just plot, just uh, move cursor on the graph, you can have the same points like we have calculated for the table, right? Okay, let's just do the same with question number 6. Y equals to x plus 1, right? You have to calculate the value of the relation from 0 to 5. So y equals x from 0 to 5. Y equals to x plus 1. Graph each relation for integer value of x from 0 to 5. Y equals to x plus 1. Okay, when x is 0, 2 times 0 plus 1. 2 times 0 is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. When x is 1, 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, right? It would be 1 and 3. When x is 2, 2 times 2, 4, 4 plus 1, 5. When x is 3, 2 times 3 plus 1, 2 times 3 is 6 and 6 plus 1, 7. When x is 4, 2 times 4, 8 plus 1, 9. When x is 5, 2 times 5, 10 and plus 1, 11. So it would be 5 and 11, right? So here's the table of values. You have to make a graph. Just use a proper graph paper and place the point on the graph paper. You can see it will make a straight line, right? Okay, let's just look at question number 7. Here is a graph of linear relation y equals 8x plus 3. Each point on the graph is labeled with an order pair. Some numbers in the order pairs are missing. Find the missing numbers. Explain how you did this. Okay, so you are given the equation y equals 8x plus 3, right? You have to look at the graph. You have on the graph you are given pair of values. Some of the values are missing. You have to calculate the missing values, right? Okay, just look at this one. Your x value is 2, y value is missing, right? Just put 2 here. X times 2 plus 3, 19. That means the point is negative 2, 2 and 19, right? Okay, here x is missing. Y you are given is 27. 27 equals 8x plus 3. Move to a 3 other side. So 27 minus 3 is 24. Divide both sides by 8. 8 times 3 is 24, so x equals 3. So here you have 3 and 27, right? That means the point is 3 and 27. Okay, when the last, this one, when x is 5. So it would be 8 times 5 plus 3. 8 times 5 is 40 and 40 plus 3 is 43. So the first, this pair is then 5 and 43, right? It would be 5 and 43. Here is a graph of linear. You can do this one exactly the same like I did question number 7, right? Okay, question number 9 is use the data from example 1, page 361. Okay, we have to go to page 361. Okay. An equation for the linear relation is C equals 11 plus 2n, where n is the number of toppings on the pizza and C is the total cost of the pizza in dollar. Here is the table of values. You are given table of values and you are given with the equation, right? Construct a graph of the data. Describe the relationship between the variables in the graph. Find the ordered pair on the graph that shows the cost of a pizza with 6 toppings, right? Okay, let me just make the graph. C equals 11 plus 2n. Okay, here is the graph, right? C equals 11 plus 2n. The question is construct a graph of the data, right? If you use this data to make a graph, the graphs look like same, right? Describe the relationship between the variable in the graph. Okay, you have to describe the relationship between the graph. Then Find the ordered pair on the graph that shows the cost of a pizza with 6 toppings. Okay, you have to look for the relationship between N and C, right? You can see the values of N. They're increasing by 1. 1 plus 1 makes 2. 2 plus 1 makes 3, right? Like every time the values of N increasing by 1, just look at the value of C. 11 plus 2 is 13. 13 plus 2 is 15. 15 plus 2 is 17. And the values of C is increasing by 2. That means the relationship between X and Y is when X increases by 1, sorry, N and C is when N increases by 1, C increases by 2, right? You have to look for the, with 6 toppings, you have to look for the value in the graph, right? When N is 6. Hold on. N is the number of toppings and C is the cost. You have 5 here. Here is 6. You can see 6 and 23. And on the table of values, you can see the point also 6 and 23, right? Okay. Let's just start with the next one. Question number 10 is exactly same like we did question 9. Let's just start with question number 11. Regina plans a marshmallow roast. She will buy 8 marshmallows from each person who attends and 12 extra marshmallows in case someone shows up unexpectedly. Let n represents the number of people who attend. Let n represents the number of marshmallows Regina must buy. An equation that relates the number of marshmallows to the number of people is m equals 2n plus 12. Create a table of values, graph the relation, describe the relationship between the variables. Is the relationship linear? How do you know? Okay, let's just calculate the table of values. M equals 8n plus 12. Okay, here I'm going to make table n and m. N is 1. 8 times 1 plus 2. 12 plus 8 is 20. When n is 1, m is 20. When n is 2, 8 times 2, 16. 16 plus 12 is 28. 8 times 3 is 24. And 24 plus 12 is 36. 8 times 4 plus 12. 8 times 4 is 32. And 32 plus 12 is 46. 44, not 46. 8 times 5, 40. 40 plus 12 is 52. Right? Okay, you have to see the relationship between the values, right? N is increasing by 1 and m is increasing by 8, right? That means when values of n are increasing by 1, m increases by 8, right? And you have to see if the relationship is linear. Yes, it is linear. Just look at the equation. M equals 8n plus 1. That is degree 1 relation, right? Whenever you have degree 1 relation, that means the power of the variable is 1. That means that would be the linear relation, right? Okay. Let's start with question number 12. Graph each relation for the integer value of negative 4 to 4. Y equals 8x plus 2. 8x plus 2. And you have to calculate the values from negative 4 to 4. Right? Then you have to plot the graph. Negative 4. 8 times negative 4 plus 2. 4 times 8 is 32. Negative 32 plus 2. That would be negative 30, right? 8 times negative 3 plus 2. 8 times negative 24 plus 2, negative 22. 8 times negative 2 plus 2. Negative 16 plus 2, negative 14. 8 times negative 1. That is negative 6. When 0, it is just 2, right? When 1, 8 times 1 is 8 plus 2, 10. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 2, 18. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 2, 26. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus 2 is 34, right? You can plot the graph using these values. So here is the values, right? Question number 13. Okay, let's just do question number 14. A computer repair company charges $60 to make a house call plus an additional $40 for each hour spent requiring repairing the computer. An equation that relates the total cost to the time in hour for a house call is C equals 60 plus 40n, where n represents the time in hours and C represents the total cost of the house call in dollars. Graph the relation. Describe the relationship between the variables in the graph. Does the point negative 120 lies on the graph? What does this point represents? Okay, C equals 60 plus 40n. So here is the relation of the graph, right? You have to see if the point negative 1 and 20 is on the graph. Let's see, negative 1. X is negative 1 and Y is you can see negative 1 and 20 is on the graph, right? So yes, negative 1 and 20 is on the graph. Let's just do question number 15. Graph each relation. Describe the relationship between the values variables in the graph. Y equals negative 9x plus 4. Let's just make table of values. Negative 9 times 1 is negative 9 plus 4, that is negative 5. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18 plus 4, negative 14. Negative 9 times 3 is 27, and that would be negative 23. 4 times 9 is negative 36 plus 4, negative 32. 9 times 5 is negative 45 plus 4, negative 41, right? Here is the table of values. When x increases by 1, y decreases by negative 9, right? That means the points are downtrend. They are decreasing, so the points are downtrend, right? You can do the rest of the questions by yourself later today. So we are done with the lesson and the chapter also. We're going to start the new chapter. And the new chapter is chapter 7, data analysis and probability. Let's just start with the chapter. Lesson 1 is choosing an appropriate graph. So we have so many graph, line graph, double bar graph, then you have circle graph. Here is the circle graph, bar graph, pictograph. You have so many graphs. You can use them in different situations, right? Which graph you use when, that is actually important thing. Let's start with question number 3. Each graph below shows how much time Canadians spend watching TV each week. Okay, so you are given two graphs, right? List three things you know from the bar graph. List three things you know from the pictograph. Okay, here is the bar graph, right? Okay, you can see adult women, right? Adult women watch more TV than the adult men, teens, and children, right? The other thing you can see is the children 2 to 11 watch TV more than even teens, right? And adult women watch more TV than adult men, right? Just look at the pictograph. Women 18 and over are the one who watch the most TV. Also, men watch less TV than the women. Children 2 to 11 watch more TV than teens, right? That's information you can read from the graphs. Let's start with question number 5. The graph shows the final grades of Mr. Sidley's grade 8 math class. List three things you know from the bar graph. Okay, so seven of the students are the one who got A grade, right? Only three of them got D grade, and there you have more B grades than the C grades, right? From here you can see less than 25% got A grade, only 10% got D grade, and more get B than C. Which graph best shows the number of students who got B as final grade? Justify your choice. B is you have just percentage 35%, but from the bar graph you can see the exact value. 10 of the students got the B grade, right? That means bar graph is better than the circle graph because bar graph shows exact values, right? These graphs shows the final grades of Mr. Taylor's grade 8 class, math class. Show the graph. Which graph should Mr. Sidley use to show his class has the higher grades? Explain. Okay. Bar graph is the good one, right? Because the bar graph shows the actual number of students, right? And you can see here more students got A and B than C or D. The E part is which class do you think did better? Why do you think so? So this one is Mr. Sidley's and this one is Mr. Taylor's, right? In Mr. Taylor class, Mr. Taylor's graph is I think better one than the Mr. Sedley. You can see here A is 29% and here A is just 24%, right? Then B is 38% and B is 35%. So that means Mr. Taylor graph is better than Mr. Sidley's, right? Okay. Question number 8. Nina owns a shoe store. These tables show data about the shoe store. Okay, you are given two of the tables. They have the data related to shoe stores. Which data would be best represented with a line graph? Justify your answer. Which type of graph would be suitable for the other table? Okay. Which data would be best represented with a line graph? And why? Table B is the best represented by the line graph, right? Why? Because you can see on table B, the data changes over time, right? Here the data changes over size, right? So it is best to use a graph line. Line graphs are easy to draw and read. It is best used to show data gathered over time. It can be used to estimate values between data points and beyond data points. So yes, the graph B would be better to use line graph. Then which type of graph would be used for the other one? The other one is A, table A. That would be used according to, that would be, bar graph is easy to draw, right? Because you are comparing value according to sizes. So that means you can make a bar graph of table A, right? Let's see question number 12, 10. This table shows the number of people employed by the construction industry in Canada from 2002 to 2006. Graph these data, justify your choices of graph. What are the advantages of and disadvantages of the graph you drew? Okay, you can see the data is changing over a period of time, right? Whenever you have data is changing over a period of time, that is best option to use the line graph, right? Because the advantages of using the line graph is it enables the direct comparison of data collected in the first year of the following year. It also allows to see a long-term pattern in data. So the only disadvantage is none of the points are on the grid line, then it's difficult to read the data correctly. You cannot read the correct data from the line graph, right? Okay. Just look at question number 12. Over a 2 month period, Dina collected these data about her family. How many times each week her dad fell asleep while watching television? How many times her dad cooked dinner? How many hours a day her brother spent playing video games? The weekly height of a tomato plant in the garden. Dina wants to display these data for a school project. What type of data, what type of graph would you suggest for each data set? Okay, A is how many times each week her dad fell asleep while watching television. Okay, again the data is changing over time. You can use the line graph, right? B is how many times her dad cooked dinner and how many times her mom cooked dinner. That is a comparison of two values, right? So when the comparison involved, you can use bar graph. How many C is how many hours a day her brother spent playing video game, doing homework, chatting online, doing chores and eating. So for C you can use circle graph because you have to record the data for 5 things. So you can use circle graph. The weekly height of a tomato plant in the garden. For this one, you have to use line graph because you can record after time. You are recording the data over a time period, right? Okay, we are done with the lesson. So we're working on grade 8 math. The chapter we're working is we have started working on the chapter linear equations and graphing. The lesson we did from the chapter is graphing linear relations. Then we started the chapter data analysis and probability. The lesson we've covered from the chapter is choosing an appropriate graph, right? So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the questions I skipped. They are very easy. You have to just try on your own. If you still need help with any of the question, you can contact any tutor on the Skype. They are available from Monday to Friday, 5 to 9, right? That's all for today. See you in the next session. Bye everyone.